So with 2:28 remaining in the fourth quarter, the Eagles now lead 35-21.
This run initially was to eat up the clock. Just make sure we keep possession. Suddenly the hole broke loose and off to the races. A lot of speed for a big man. Just a giant hole. Really the first half-hearted effort I've seen Zach Thomas make. It looked like he just didn't have his feet under him to make a change of direction to make the tackle. It was his responsibility to make that play at the line.
And for Ricky Waters, that is a career high 164 yards. His fourth 100-plus game of the season. 21 carries, 164 plus the touchdown. The previous 4 touchdowns, Detmer combining with Fryer.
And the Eagles were 7-0 when he had 100 yards or more. Looks like they're going to go to 8-0 with Ricky Waters in that 100-plus category as a rusher.
A kick by Anderson. Jarris McPhail with the return following Irving Spikes. Getting to the outside, putting the speed on, and then taken out of bounds. And flags come flying. Brian Dawkins making the stop. Might have been a face mask. We're down to 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Each team with 3 timeouts remaining.
Personal foul, face mask by the kicking team, number 20. 15-yard penalty, first down.
And that's the man who made the tackle, Brian Dawkins. And it appears that Bernie Kosar will come on. So it will not be Dan Marino, although if it were a 7-point game, it was taking on the look of Marino making the appearance.
I wonder exactly what this discussion is right now. Craig Erickson it looks to me, is asking, why am I coming out of the ball game, coach? Especially if you're not going to put Dan Marino in, why not leave me in the ball game? I'm warm. Bernie Kosar is not. What this discussion is right now, Craig Erickson it looks to me, is asking, why am I coming out of the ball game, coach? Especially if you're not going to put Dan Marino in, why not leave me in the ball game? I'm warm. Bernie Kosar is not.
Kosar looking to dump it off. It'll be a second down and 13. Here's the 2-minute warning. Eagles 35 and the Dolphins 21. We'll be back in a moment.
Craig Erickson, a lot of big plays in this ball game. They're going with Bernie Kosar right now, and really a moment ago we saw them talking, Jimmy Johnson and Craig Erickson. They were not arguing. It wasn't a June Jones, Jeff George situation. They were just explaining the issue to each other.
Second and 13, and Kosar with a sideline pattern. Don Griffin on the coverage of Fred Barnett. Well, today the MetLife Blimp Snoopy 1 teaming up with NBC, providing an aerial view of Veterans Stadium. MetLife Blimp high above the Vet. Third down and 9 at the 41-yard line. And Kosar with the time was able to avoid the sack and then goes incomplete, intended for Jarris McPhail, covered by William Thomas. How about Atlanta? They are now in front of Dallas 28-25 in the fourth quarter. Next week the Dolphins are home for Dallas. That may catch the attention of Jimmy Johnson, although he says that it is he more involved rather than his players. He thinks the Cowboy players, though, will have a different perspective on it.
I think he's exactly right. Anytime your team's getting ready for a game, as much as people ask you about future games, you're getting ready for this ball game. Philadelphia Eagles in this case right now. But Jimmy Johnson, I know, is as this game ends, he'll be looking for a very strong performance next week. And the Dolphins, though, aren't giving this one in yet. Still a little bit of time left with Bernie Kosar completing that one out of the backfield to Jarris McPhail.
It's good for 11 yards. Down to a minute and a half remaining in the fourth quarter. The Eagles next week are home for Carolina. They have played 4 of their first 6 games on the road. And Kosar finding McPhail again, works his way inside the 20. Stopped by Wilburn. The Dolphins to the line in a hurry. The clock is running. And now Miami takes a timeout with 1:11 to go in the fourth quarter. 3 games, beating New England, Arizona, and the Jets. Then they lost at Indianapolis, lost at home to Seattle in the rain, and beat Buffalo last week. The Buffalo win an enormous victory, but a loss today, and 3 of the last 4 in the loss column for the Philadelphia Eagles. They make it a record of 5-2. And coming into today, game behind the Washington Redskins, who are in front of the New York Giants. Eagles with wins over Washington, Detroit, Atlanta, and the Giants. Here's Kosar, and completes it to O.J. McDuffie, and he's in for the touchdown. And this one is not over with 1:04 remaining.
Not at all. And you're going to see Danny Smith on the Philadelphia Eagles sideline getting the hands team ready, because the next play after this extra point will be an onside kick.
So Bernie Kosar off the bench for Craig Erickson. And he has been able to engineer this touchdown drive, a 17-yard pass play. Kosar 5 of 6, 43 yards on the drive. Now Nedney with the extra point. So the Eagles with a 7-point lead, 35-28, 1:04 to go.
The Dolphins have 3 good quarterbacks. Craig Erickson's played well. Bernie Kosar comes in and orchestrates a drive to score late in the ball game, right down the chute. Pretty good coverage down the middle, and O.J. McDuffie makes a second effort to get in. The ball has to cross the plane, and that's all, and that's what he reaches for. Watch right here. Touchdown. Running across the field, but then turning up as soon as he can. And when he sees the line, reaching out. If the ball crosses before any other part of his body, his knee or hip or anything else touches, it's a touchdown. Now with a 7-point difference, the onside kick. Both teams huddle on their respective sideline to talk this one out. They practice this all the time, but never full speed. You can't do this one full speed until you get into a game.
O.J. McDuffie with a second touchdown reception of the day. 7 catches, 121 yards. He has 3 TDs for the season. There have been some outstanding individual efforts today. Detmer 18 of 24. Thrown for 4. O.J. McDuffie, you see the numbers there. Ricky Waters.
Marv, I think part of the reason that Bernie went in there, he's been around this offense in the 2-minute situation longer, probably a better chance to move the team for him.
And the onside kick, it is handled by Mark Say. So the Eagles able to cover up.
The onside kick is always a touchy deal. For one reason I mentioned earlier, you can't practice this one full speed anywhere except for the game because of the chance of injury. But Danny Smith, wanted this one to go their way, Philadelphia's way. He's been under a little bit of fire, and Ray Rose pointed out to us, as we mentioned earlier, that he was just answering in response to a question. He wasn't singling him out as a reason for anything on the field. 2 timeouts for the Miami Dolphins. They'll have to use them on the first and second down.
As I was mentioning, Waters 164 yards on 21 carries. Irving Fryer 4 touchdown receptions against his former team. Waters trying the right side, and the clock is stopped. Miami calling for time. Well, coming up next on most of these NBC stations. It'll be game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Most of you will see the Denver Broncos hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Others will see the Bengals and the 49ers, or the Steelers go up against the Oilers, or regional action. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Miami with 1 timeout remaining. Philadelphia has 3. 59 seconds to go in this 4th quarter, and the Eagles leading the Dolphins 35-28.
This was going to come down to a 4th down play. The timeout will be called immediately following this one, putting the ball at about 52 or 53 seconds.
Waters hit back behind the line. Zach Thomas with the tackle.
Quick hit left him with 54 seconds now and no timeouts.
Well, Dallas has moved back in front of Atlanta, and New England in front of Indianapolis. Washington about to wrap up the Giants. Final seconds of the 4th quarter. Carolina over New Orleans. So the Carolina Panthers go to 5-2. That's the final timeout taken by the Dolphins when we resume a 3rd down and 9 at the 41-yard line with 54 seconds remaining.
What will happen here is that the clock will continue to run. When the tackle is made, there'll be about 49 seconds maybe left to go, with a 40-second clock.
Waters trying to pick his way and stopped by Norman Hand. Sam, thinking back your many years coaching in Cincinnati and Tampa Bay, you ever lose one like this?
Absolutely.
Being the
hardest loss I ever had.
Talk about from the Eagle point of view, blowing it.
Oh, well, you know, the famous one, of course, is the Pasargic handoff, the New York Giants making the handoff and mishandling it and losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm sure that they are talking right now, carefully talking this one over to make sure this one's handled just right. 16-15, as it counts down, the differential is going to be about 6 seconds. If they run a play and they don't get anything out of it, there will be like 1 play left for the Miami Dolphins. They can put the ball high, the ball will be in the air long enough, probably in the game. Run the risk, of course, of a block punt.
So the delay of game is taken, and the clock is stopped with 6 seconds remaining. Miami out of timeouts, and they mark it off. The ball is spotted at the 42-yard line.
The key to this play is everybody do your job. Make sure that if you're going to run the ball, and probably be some kind of a sweep to eat up some time, everybody block and hold on to your blocks.
And they give it to Waters, and that will wrap it. So the Philadelphia Eagles with a 35-28 victory over the Miami Dolphins. Eagles go to 5-2. They remain a full game behind the Redskins. And the Dolphins 4-3 with Dallas coming up next week. Coming up next on most of these NBC stations, game 2 of our doubleheader.